And here we go. We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be nominal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Following up. Roger, roll, Atlantis.
Water towers, fly! Yes!
Tango down to nominal.
Fighting downside SPD off. Bring in SPD off. It's orange!
Orange 45! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage.
What is it?
Put that in the big bag,
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
This methane will be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You good? Sure. We don't need any more of these.
Good morning, everybody. Look at this. We can see the rocket. It's we couldn't see a rocket a moment ago behind the scenes, which was quite funny because everything was fogged over from the condensation. You can tell it's an early morning in Florida. But yeah, we can see the rocket. We can see a little bit of heat haze in the atmosphere just jiggling around. And the wind appears to be relatively calm on all of the foliage in the foreground here. We've got a live view of Space Launch Complex 40 at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. I think we could be in for a rather beautiful launch this morning, assuming things continue tracking in the direction that they're going. But there we go. My name's Ryan Caton. Thank you very much for joining us. NSF's live launch coverage of Starlink 1022. I feel like I need to do some kind of David Attenborough voice because of just how calm all of the atmosphere and the bushes are. Anyways, joining me for this fingers crossed pretty launch this morning in 52 minutes time, Sawyer Rosenstein, actually in Florida. How's it doing down? I don't know. You're like 200 miles south or something, Sawyer, aren't you?
Oh, 150-ish, yeah. But still, it's a beautiful morning here in Florida, especially as we get ready to see more launches from the Space Coast. So, sorry for ruining the David Attenborough moment with my loud, obnoxious, originally from New Jersey voice.
And now we observe a Falcon 9 in its natural habitat. No, it's fine. In the field for us, let's see if the comms work. I'm not sure if he's on comms, but if he is, Jerry is with us in the field, just keeping things going in Florida whilst Max and Dee start to wrap things up at Starbase. Thanks for rolling out, Jerry, at this very 7 o'clock in the morning hour.
Oh, I am here, and thanks, Ryan. Yep, it's a beautiful morning, save for the really, really bad mosquitoes this morning. But I'm here at the press site at Kennedy Space Center, and hoping to see a launch today. And I just spotted a swamp puppy over to the left of the press site here. So, it's a good Florida morning when you can see one of those.
Everybody and everything rolling out for this morning's Starlink launch. I nearly said tonight's Starlink launch because we get so used to these, really late night Starlinks. It's a nice change of pace to have a few at this kind of time of day. And it also means it's in the daylight, so we can actually see the launch taking place, which is also a nice change of pace. You can see that beautiful sunset. I've done it again. That beautiful sunrise, or rather, behind the vehicle assembly building there. You can see ML2 being built over on the right-hand side of that box. Look at that, just beautiful, beautiful clouds behind the world's largest single-story building there. As Carson, we could just bathe in this for a moment. And yes, before I forget, as I so always do, Carson behind the scenes pushing the buttons, producing this morning's live stream as we bring you live launch coverage of Starlink 10-22, one of, at least a couple Starlink launches this week. So I guess we can talk about that because originally there was going to be, some sort of rapid turnaround action going on. There's a Starlink today, there's a Starlink scheduled for tomorrow. That unfortunately has since been delayed to Friday, but yeah, it's going to be a bit of a busy week for SpaceX, considering last week they launched 9 launches in the last 10 days of August or something, including Starship. I mean, the SpaceX cadence these days is just absolutely mind-blowing.
It really is impressive. They're really pushing for that 150-ish flights per year goal. But yeah, as you pointed out, we already had the first one of September. That was last night at Vandenberg. So now we have 1022. Then we also have 1057, as you pointed out, which is now Friday. Then there's another Starlink on Saturday out of Vandenberg. So they are really trying to push the cadence here. And again, this is just the Starlink launches. Of course, they have plenty of other customer missions lined up on the docket, including the important ISS resupply mission, NG-23, coming up in the middle of the month.
Yeah, it is a busy, busy time at SpaceX, and I don't think, well, I say it's a busy time at SpaceX. When is it not a busy time at SpaceX? But I don't think it'll be getting any quieter maybe until the holiday period. Maybe all the SpaceX employees will get a couple of days off. But yeah, there we go.
You're funny.
So, with that, we have Falcon 9 vertical at Slick 40 scheduled to lift off in 48 minutes and 10 seconds time. Sawyer, would you like to take us through all the things we love to talk about before a launch, specifically what this vehicle is, what it's launching, and what it's launched before?
Sure. So this particular launch is going to be 28 of the V2 Starlink mini satellites. Again, these are not the direct-to-cell ones. These are just the regular V2 minis that we're used to seeing here. These, as always, will be heading northeast on the 53-degree inclination that we're used to seeing for the summertime Starlink launches. There are some of those fun stats. The 114th of the year, the second of the month. They're really doing well since previous failures. The 276th from Slick 40, and we are almost at 300 dedicated Starlink launches. But in terms of the booster that will be flying this particular flight, you are looking at B1083-14. That began its life as a crew booster for Crew 8. It also launched Polaris Dawn, so significant missions with it. There was CRS-31, Astronus from One to Many. One of the Starlinks had a couple of bonus satellites with it that it did. The Nova C lander for IM-2. We also had the commercial one, as they call it, but we believe that was the Drawer 1 mission. And then, of course, all of the different Starlink missions. In terms of recovery assets, by the way, it is set to land in that northeasterly direction on a shortfall of gravitas, and Doug is also downrange to support the fairing recovery.
Indeed. So yeah, it's starting to get brighter, would you believe it, as the sun rises. But there you go. Yeah, first launching Crew 8 all the way back in the ancient times of March 2024. Can you believe it? And also Polaris Dawn all the way back in September. Like, almost, if they delayed by a week, it would be a year to the day of the launch of Polaris Dawn, which is kind of bonkers to think about, considering it felt like that was yesterday. But there we go.
A year ago?
Yeah, well, just shy a week away from being a year ago exactly, launching on September 10th last year.
Jeez. Oh, God, I feel old.
In terms of the weather, first of all, Jerry, I'll ask you. We have Ristojet in chat asking, what is the weather at the launch site today? You did say at the opening of the stream you've got some mosquitoes around, but other than that, how the winds? Is the wind calm? Is weather looking? Is it pleasant?
The weather is pleasant, I would say today. It's a good temperature, at least for right now for Florida. Basically no wind. A little bit more clouds than the previous morning Starlink launch, at least over looking towards the launch site, but looking up towards the north and the northeast, it's a lot of high, thin clouds, and there's a word for it that I'm not particularly familiar with, but nothing too crazy today, but some beautiful sunrise clouds, I will admit, though.
Indeed. And Sawyer, on the left here, we have thanks, Carson. we have the weather forecast from the 45th Weather Squadron. If you would like to take us through all the numbers in there.
Sure. So the big percentage number, that is the probability of violation. So that's the no-go percentage, which means that launch day is 70% favorable. So 70% go. The only concern being the cumulus cloud rule, which, as Jerry just pointed out, they're mostly the thin, wispy ones, not the cumulus ones. So that's a good sign. In terms of the additional risk criteria, upper level winds, there's not much concern there. Same with booster recovery weather. And despite all of the crazy solar flares that have been going on and that are expected, there is very low solar activity risk, which SpaceX is very conscious of, given that they lost a whole batch of them because of some solar storms.
Yeah, it's quite peculiar how ever since they suddenly lost an entire batch of Starlink satellites because they launched them too low of an orbit, suddenly all of the Starlink since have been to like 100-kilometer higher orbit. It's like,
Yeah, that too.
maybe you weren't looking at that before, but you're certainly going to be looking at that from now on. If you are not familiar with that, boys and girls, essentially a few years ago there was a solar event which caused the I'm going far beyond my depth here in terms of space weather knowledge, but I believe essentially this solar event caused the upper parts of the atmosphere to basically get a little bit more dense. So there was more friction, there was more drag essentially than SpaceX was expecting. So the satellites basically couldn't circularize themselves properly, so they were in too low of an orbit, and then a few days later after launch they unfortunately succumbed to being in such a low orbit with all of the drag, and they re-entered the Earth's atmosphere quite spectacularly, I will say. It's a nice human-made meteor shower, very expensive one at that too, but there we go. You can see the sun rising there over the Atlantic Ocean. I believe this is one of our Cape cams looking over, you guessed it, the Cape. Looks like we've got some marine assets offshore. Are they dredging something up there right there? I can't actually tell, but that's certainly interesting.
Yes.
I don't know. Oh,
That
go
is a
on, Jerry.
dredger. It's been at the mouth of the port for quite a while now. Actually, they're just doing some, I think, maintenance dredging. But yeah, it's been quite a time that's sitting there offshore.
I think we've also got your picture on the left-hand side here as well of the of our nature friends
Range
joining us
asset.
for this launch. Yes, range assets.
Cape security is out.
Oh, and the other friends. Well, these ones aren't really friends, but there you go. Some of the foes that we're dealing with this morning.
Yeah.
It's not a spider, otherwise I'd say everyone send it to Adrian, but it's not, so don't.
Yeah, you can really see the sky color changing behind the rocket here as we count down nearly 41 minutes to go now until the launch of Starlink 10-22. I just realized that we've been streaming for like 15 minutes now, and I've completely forgotten to say that if you do have a question, do tag us in chat at NASASpaceflight or at NSF. It's much easier. It's only 3 characters. But yeah, if you have any questions, we've got a few in the queue already, so we will be hitting those when we can. But yeah, if you do have any questions or comments, that allows us to keep it organised, bring it onto the screen, answer it, all that good stuff. Anyways, we are approaching very shortly, Sawyer, if everything is going to plan, which we hope it is, the point where SpaceX's launch director would verify go for propellant load. That comes up at T-minus 38 minutes, so we could be just a couple and a half minutes away from that point. Would you like to take us through some of the events after that, which we'll then be taking a look at, if assuming that everything goes to plan through that T-minus 38 minute kind of gate there?
Sure. So yeah, right now the polling should be underway for that. Again, they don't actually do the out loud polls like we were used to hearing for ULA or NASA, which is a bit of a shame. But yeah, they do it digitally. But if they get the go for prop load at T-minus 35 minutes, they begin with loading all of the propellants basically onto stage 1. That is the liquid oxygen, the LOX, and the RP1, the rocket propellant 1 refined kerosene base. Meanwhile, stage 2 just starts with the RP1. That will continue to load until 20 minutes and 20 seconds to go, which we call here the best vent, which is basically the LOX chill down. It'll take about 4 minutes for them to chill down the lines before they start flowing the liquid oxygen into stage 2. Meanwhile, stage 1 and 2 are going to keep loading that whole time because booster bigger than second stage.
It's almost like Starship is big. Did you know that?
I think I heard that in a technical talk somewhere.
I mean, it is technically correct.
That
But
is
yes.
true, and I guess it also goes fast, and although it doesn't have the heat shield on one side, so how will I know what the black side is and what the white side is?
Yes, the booster is indeed bigger than the second stage.
Yeah, but it's amazing to think in terms of Starship that you're talking this entire rocket is basically the booster for Starship, and yet somehow they load Starship. It takes only 15-ish minutes less, or 15-ish minutes more to load Starship than
Yeah.
it does to load Falcon 9.
And that's absolutely bonkers to think about just the pure capacity those propellant lines have. And I don't want to go into Starship too much because, of course, this is a Falcon 9 live stream, but the new pad design, they're going to have 2 quick disconnects on the booster and the ship. So, theoretically, that should mean double X the payload, kind of transfer capacity. So maybe by doing that, they can nearly half the load time, and then that would be less than Falcon 9, which would be absolutely bonkers to think about. But yeah.
And that's one of the things they're talking about with keeping it local here, with Starship coming to Cape Canaveral, is the idea of getting all of the propellant farms and everything, how much they would have to truck in versus how much they would be able to produce on site, as you see the Starship Tower there with a gorgeous sunrise behind it at
Indeed.
LC-39A.
And we've got, you can also see there the Falcon Transporter Erector, which is on the ramp there at 39A, just chilling out this morning. Got lots of, so many cranes, like an incredible, bonkers number of cranes. Not only at 39A, but literally, I think every single launch pad across the Cape right now has construction work going on. It is the work here is bonkers, with so many companies coming online and doing their own thing. And staying with Starship for just a little bit longer, Johan is asking, do you expect clearance from the FAA for Flight 10, and when do you expect Flight 11? Well, in terms of FAA clearance and all of that good stuff, SpaceX completed all of their mission objectives according to their flight plan, so there isn't a mishap report. So there's nothing along those lines for the FAA to, kind of put their stamp on and send off. Of course, those reports, when SpaceX does have to do those reports, they're led by SpaceX, right? SpaceX, even if the FAA didn't exist, SpaceX would still be doing a report into why that rocket didn't work properly, right? So it's not exactly the FAA leading those reports, but they don't have to do one of those reports by the FAA. So that means they can, theoretically, if they wanted to launch tomorrow under the same license, they probably could. I don't know, actually, because of the holiday restrictions. But anyways, you know what I mean. But again, that all kind of stems down to what they want to do with Flight 11. If they're going to repeat the mission profile, like the exact flight plan of Flight 10, with no booster catch, which I'm not very happy about, then it looks like they would need no license modifications whatsoever. However, Sawyer, if they wanted to go and change things up, go to orbit, I don't know, do loads of different things, then they would probably need it. Well, they would need a new license. But that being said, when do you think Flight 11 could take place, Sawyer?
I mean, definitely before the end of the year. I feel like that's the obvious answer, the Alex answer. Hi, Alex, in the back channel. But I think probably month and a half, so mid-October. So you've still got to do all the testing on Ship 38, any modifications that they're going to make based off of what they saw with the flap performance and burn through and things like that. They got to do the whole star stool thing with the modification to the orbital launch mount to be able to test the ship on there, in addition to doing all the booster testing. So I think about a month and a half at this point. But yeah, right now, though, Falcon 9 will hopefully be actually fueling. And also, as Exhibit said, I heard you like cranes, so I brought some cranes to your cranes so that you could build cranes with cranes.
There's also cranes at the port, as you would expect. Another crane field. There are so many cranes. I think there's probably, if there was like a crane heat map for the United States, I would be very interested to see how it looks over the Cape, because there are so many cranes. That probably exists somewhere on the internet, but we are doing a stream, so I will not go looking for that right now. T
Wait,
minus 34 minutes.
is there one in
Sawyer-
frame? Sorry, I have to crane my neck to see if I can see it.
Oh, that's just terrible. That's just terrible.
It's early morning. Got to wake some people up with puns, you know? At least on the East Coast, it's early morning.
Oh. I'm just going to move straight on. T minus 33 minutes, 46 seconds. We are standing by for Frost to appear on Falcon 9. That is, of course, assuming that that poll was successful. Unfortunately, SpaceX doesn't really tell us anything until later into the count, so they don't do a post or anything. So we'll just have to stand by and wait for visual confirmation in that case that propellant loading is indeed underway. Falcon 9, of course, a Kerolox rocket. That means it uses kerosene, RP1, and liquid oxygen. So it's the frost from that cryogenic liquid oxygen which we are most interested in. And fingers crossed, these still conditions, not a lot of heat haze. I mean, you can barely see the heat haze, which is, kind of, this is as good as it gets in Florida, ladies and gentlemen. Fingers crossed these conditions make it super clear for us to start seeing a frost line appear on that booster. That being said, though, the sun is unfortunately on the wrong side of the rocket. The sun is kind of behind the rocket, pointing towards us. In the best conditions, we want the rocket behind us, pointing towards the rocket. But we work with the conditions that we have this morning. I would rather the prettier views than the sun's specific placement in the sky.
Yeah, also, I'd rather the rocket just work. So, good weather and the rocket actually fly.
Apparently I said the rocket behind us pointing towards the rocket. I meant the sun behind us pointing towards the rocket. You can tell it's early in the morning, can't you?
I mean, if there was one at 39A and one at 40, you could have a rocket behind you while pointing at the rocket.
And that's happened many times before.
See? There you go. I got your back this morning.
So we stand by still. I don't know if I'm imagining it, but I think I can maybe see a little bit of a frost line appearing in between the bushes there. I'll do a quick cheeky screenshot and point it out in the back channel, Sawyer, but I think I can see a little bit of a line forming.
It looks like it. Yeah, that's definitely a frost line forming. If you go right a little bit above the gap in the bushes you were pointing out there, yeah, now you can see the line there.
Yeah, it is tough to see. Thankfully, there is a bush literally pointing directly towards it. But that little branch there that ends halfway across the rocket from the right-hand side, from that right bush, that is where that frost line is starting. But yeah, it is blending in very well at the moment because of these lighting conditions with the soot on B1083. But yeah, that is visual confirmation. Propellant load is indeed underway. RP1 and LOX loading on the first stage. RP1 loading on the second stage. Sawyer, at this point, I believe this means they are locked in to their liftoff time of 11:56 and 10 seconds coordinated universal time.
Exactly, 7:56:10 a.m. With these super chilled propellants, the cryogenics at the temperatures that they do it. Once they start loading, they don't really have any room to hold. So if for some reason they needed to wait for anything with the rocket or the weather or the payload, they can't. So that is why they are committed to that T0 in about 30 minutes and 20 seconds from now. So either it will or it won't launch in 30 minutes and 16 seconds.
Indeed. Approaching T-minus half an hour to go. You can see the sun continuing to rise. It's getting brighter and brighter on the Space Coast as we await the launch of Starlink 1022. And very quickly, I will just appreciate in chat we had 117 Warbird becoming a PadRap member. So thank you very much for your support there. And we have David here asking what is the chance of a jellyfish today? Jerry, if we still have you on, unfortunately, we have a sun that has now risen, so the jellyfish window, I believe, is well and truly unavailable at this point.
Yes, definitely. I'm not sure when this window began, but I think it was even at the beginning of this window, a little bit too late into the day after sunrise. It needs to be about 30 minutes to 45 minutes before sunrise for a jellyfish effect to occur. But, with this sun that's very clearly above the horizon in my eyes right now, it's definitely a 0% chance for a jellyfish this morning.
And you can see the sun now rising on the foliage, just so pretty, so pretty.
Yep, a postcard moment, as my dad would call it. And for Chris Bergen, see, it does look like the brochures.
Yeah, right now. Just don't come back in the afternoon.
Yeah,
This is
just give it a
Florida.
couple hours. It'll change. But for now, yeah.
Yeah, very pretty indeed. Very pretty sunrise. Oh, just look at that. So pretty. So pretty.
I think it's pretty.
Yeah. Sard is asking, have we had any less can they blank in the rain questions since Flight 10? No, we've had a lot more. As you might expect, I have a feeling that phrase is going to, go along with, if that was methane, that would be in the flare, correct? That would be igniting the flare, correct? I think that's probably in that category of Jack Byer-isms that we have.
Although,
maybe in
you
the...
know who asked the question.
I know who asked the question, but I feel like the response as well was quite poignant.
Yeah. Also, Jack was pointing out that people have come up to him in person and asked him at the last Starship launch, can they static fire in the rain? Can they launch in the rain? So it now has lore behind it.
That is not surprising whatsoever. Mechazilla, can they launch Falcon 9 in the rain? Sawyer, I'm going to take this one seriously because I knew they were joking, but I'm going to take this question seriously. Can Falcon 9 launch in the rain? I have a feeling that because of some reasons, usually is the rain the problem, or is the cloud that the rain comes from the problem?
It's the cloud that the rain comes from that is the problem, and that's why also even today, even though it's 70% favorable and it looks beautiful, the concern is that cumulus cloud rule. It's those particular types of clouds that can either have lightning associated with them or are statically charged, so that if you send something, say in the shape of like a stick, flying ridiculously fast through it, it could create its own form of lightning and sort of static electricity and basically shock it. So that is one of the main concerns, and that's why there is, there's the cumulus cloud rule. You'll see the flight through precipitation rule, and that's typically because those clouds that can produce the precipitation itself do cause that lightning. So it's something that they watch for specifically, the anvil cloud rule, all of that. Keeping lightning out of the way and also avoiding an Apollo 12 and creating your own lightning, aka my favorite word from one of my least favorite launches, tribo electrification.
Yeah, one chance and you still got it wrong. Well done, Sawyer.
Thanks. Well, I mean, I wasn't wrong about it first really becoming in the spaceflight zeitgeist during the worst launch, aka Ares 1X.
Oh, hang on. That's not.
You're gonna
that's
mute
not
me,
on.
aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I think we should just. Thanks for joining us, Sawyer. We'll see you next time.
No.
Anyways,
Wait, no.
moving swiftly on from that uncalled for against Ares 1X, the best rocket to ever grace the Kennedy Space Center. James is asking a stupid question, but how come it's so dark in Boca Chica but not here? That's because Florida is more east, and sunrise goes around the world, and the Earth rotates. So because we're more east, sun rises earlier. Hence, that's also the reason why Texas is on a 1 hour delayed time zone compared to Florida. Hopefully that one helps. And let's have a look through here as we are. I'm just keeping an eye on the time because I don't want to miss anything, but we are T-minus 24 minutes, 45 seconds. Resisto Jet Sawyer asking, does SpaceX have to pay to launch from Slick 40, such as renting the space? They've been a tenant at 40 for a very long time at this point. They've been there for like 15 years. Excuse me. They lease that, correct? They lease that pad, like all of the other properties, like 39A and the landing zones, and yeah.
Exactly, yeah. It is leased from the U.S. Space Force for Slick 40. 39A, they have a 30-year lease from NASA on that one. But yes, for Slick 40 specifically, they do lease the space. That's also partly why we no longer have LZ-1, as other companies coming in and they want to use the space, so they're paying the money. And yeah, turns out money is good. Money talks. So that's what they decided for, to allow LZs 1 and 2 to go to these other companies and just let SpaceX build their own landing zones at their own launch pads. So it is indeed leased. It is not fully theirs. And I believe before that, it launched Titans.
Yeah, I mean, every single pad on the Cape pretty much has such a long history of old school rockets because, you know, back in the day, this was a missile testing ground. They were launching humans to the moon. This is where it all started. This is where it all began. Not to get too much along those lines, but you know what I'm trying to say. This is all of these pads, even though they may have modern day rocket tenants from modern day rocket companies, and we've got, you know, Atlases, Deltas, Thors, you know, for days. Don't even ask me how many different variants there are of Atlas or of Delta over the years. There's too many to count. I don't think anyone actually truly knows how many Deltas and Atlases there are because there were simply so many of them. But you know what I'm trying to say. So many different vehicles launching. One of them going to be Falcon 9, fingers crossed, in 22 minutes and 42 seconds. We are counting down because when the propellant load, or rather when the ground systems, Sawyer, are preparing for the liquid oxygen load on the second stage, they do a little something which is quite a nice visual indicator.
Yeah, in about 2 minutes, we should see that big puff in the sky, the the locks chill down, where they start getting the line that's been loading the RP-1, which they keep at a lot warmer temperature. So RP-1 is kept, again, still colder than regular RP-1, like Atlas 5, that's at room temperature-ish. This is definitely colder, so they will let that run through, and then they get to the super cold liquid oxygen. We're talking negative 200, 300 degrees. And so we will need to chill it down, and that is so they don't shock the line of, hey, by the way, you're nice and warm. Let's just instantly put cold stuff through you. It usually can lead to cracks and bad things, so that's why they condition said line. And we'll also be able to use it as a good indicator of the weather, too, because how the plume kind of hangs around the rocket indicates the humidity, indicates the wind. I have a feeling today it's going to give Falcon 9 its cape, aka just kind of hang around the vehicle. But we'll find out about that in under a minute now.
Indeed, standing by. I wonder if we'll get some lovely vent, like the sun glistening, the you know, shining on the vent. That would be, just wait and see, but that could be something. I'm just indicating by some of the condensation we're seeing from the aft end of the vehicle there. I'm looking forward to how this vent could look as we stand by for it to start in a few seconds time. Fingers crossed. Let's keep watching. Definitely not trying to stall so we can time the vent when it starts, but it should be starting.
You know, we should have capes. Of all the things we have in the shop, we should have capes, and in particular from the cape, so that you could have a cape. Now, well, Falcon 9 will get that cape, we hope, moment. How many times can I say cape in a row before it stops sounding like a real word?
I have no idea. There we go. There's the vent. I think you should take that one to the store team, Sawyer.
Yeah, I definitely will. Just like the T-Tab, T-Towels, and all of that other ideas. But at least we're on track so far with propellant load. And yeah, you can see it looks light breeze-ish, but it's kind of just chilling there, very thick. So that heavy, humid Florida air in the early morning before the sun starts burning all of it off, and before the afternoon rain showers. You can really see it there.
3 minutes 40 seconds until liquid oxygen load starts on the second stage. This is what this vent is in preparation for. Things continuing to look good. They are launching in 90 minutes and 33 seconds, or they aren't launching at all. So there you go. That's how Falcon 9 works. Once it gets into propellant load, it has to launch at that time, or it's essentially a 24-hour turnaround. They could probably do a little bit quicker, but in terms of, realistically, it's a 24-hour turnaround considering all of the launch windows, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah, it's called load and go, not load and hold and then go again.
Load and... Oh, actually, we might... Yep, hang on. Let's... Yep, okay. And, yeah. That's not what it's called.
It's called load and go, yeah. I mean, yeah, not the load and pause and go, but yeah, it's actually called load and go.
Josh Shelton, sorry if I pronounced your name incorrectly, thank you very much for the $5 super chat. That is greatly appreciated. They're asking, does the soot on the boosters help with insulation, thus requiring less propellant conditioning? I would imagine any impact it makes would be negligible. I know we've talked prior about how the added soot adds mass, but I think the thermal conditioning would also be a negligible side effect. I don't think it would really make that much distance, that much difference. I'm not a rocket scientist, and I'm not going to say I am qualified to speak on this subject by any stretch of the imagination, but my assumption would be it would be very similar to the mass in that it makes so little difference that it doesn't really matter. I don't know if anyone else has seen or heard anything to the contrary. I'm not sure.
I mean, the thing is, people don't realize how thin that soot layer is. Even though it looks like it's massively caked on compared to the nice, clean, newer boosters, if you've seen any of the crew missions that fly on Falcon 9, they will actually sign their initials or their names onto the booster. So, I mean, we're talking so thin that you can clear it off with a finger, kind of like you would clear dust off of a desk that kind of hasn't been dusted in a while. So, it's not as thick as it seems. So, I agree that while I'm not a thermodynamicist, if that's a thing, it is negligible.
We're going to get like a entire class of thermophysics dynamicists in the comments after this launch being like, actually, it makes a slightly difference because, I don't know.
I've gotten private messages after some launches of things I've said, so we'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find out. Anyways, continuing to count down, T-minus 16 minutes, 38 seconds. That vent continuing to run for a few more seconds. Liquid oxygen load should start, or is it just wrapped up? I can't tell. It's kind of lingering in the atmosphere a little bit. But liquid oxygen load should begin on that second stage in 20 seconds' time. And we are standing by for that to commence. Unfortunately, it's quite difficult to spot the frost on the second stage, especially in today's lighting conditions, because of course the second stage is white and the frost is also white. So it's, yeah, you can imagine why it's quite difficult to spot there. But nonetheless, we will keep an eye out just in case we do see anything, as we now cross T-minus 16 minutes and counting. I'm going to look through here for some more questions. And oh my goodness, Bideford, this isn't a Starship launch, this is a Starlink launch. What are you doing here, Bideford? Thank you very much with the $50 super chat. Oh my goodness,
Wow.
Bideford, thank you so much. At like 20 minutes to wait in the morning Eastern time. Thank you so much. They say, good morning, NSF. Here's to everyone having an awesome day. Hugs for all. Thank you so much for the support, Bideford. That is so greatly appreciated and extremely unexpected. I'll put it that way. On a Starlink launch, just, bog standard, run-of-the-mill Starlink launch from Slick 40. So, yeah, seriously, Bideford, thank you so much for your support, as always. And Bideford is one of those people who is always in chat, always supporting, always helping out the channel. And, yeah, seriously, thank you so much for your support, Bideford. because it is, as I'm sure you are aware at this point, it is so greatly appreciated from every single one of us on the team. So yeah, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Good morning to you too, Bideford, and thank you so much for kicking things off on this early morning with us, or at least early morning for me on the East Coast.
It feels like an early morning for me too, even though it's beyond noon in this part of the world, but it feels like an early morning for me as well. Still seeing some of that condensation going. You see you still see a little bit of the sun reflecting there in the bushes. Just trying to fight the urge to do that David Attenborough voice again. But yeah, it's so calm, it's so chill, it's so, do the kids say zen? I don't know, but you know, it's just it's that kind of vibe I'm getting, you know, kind of a chill launch, laid back.
Also, I love how you're asking if the kids say zen to the over 30-year-old.
Carson, do the kids say zen? See if we get a response. 13 minutes, 40 seconds to go. We've got oh my goodness, we've got even more support. Nibbles gifting 5 Red Team memberships. Again, this is a Starlink launch. What are you guys doing? Thank you so much for your support there, Nibbles. That is appreciated. And if you were one of the 5 people who received one of those gifted memberships, you know what to do. Make sure to thank them in chat. We have gotten, like, well over 1,000. Like, I swear, so many gifted memberships over the last week. I mean, as you would expect, because we had that Starship launch a week ago. But yeah, we've got so many gifted people. Like, if you look at the graph, there's like a huge uptick, which is just absolutely mind-blowing. So thank you everybody for the support. And like, I think so many people now have access to that member area with all the behind-the-scenes pictures and all of the close-up pictures and the member streams and all of those kinds of things. That yeah, it's really quite incredible how many people now have access to that member area. So yeah, and it's great that so many people can have access to that for literally no cost to them, which is I think that's one of the coolest features about the YouTube support, that you can literally gift a month's worth of perks to someone, like a complete stranger, completely for free, just because they're also a part of the community that you're a part of. I think that's pretty cool. So yeah, we're seeing a little bit of a trickling vent now going on. This is all completely normal, right?
Exactly. Again, the lines are still cold. So regardless of, the propellant load and having to pre-chill them, they are still very cold. It's usually harder to see in the afternoon with it kind of burning off at that point, and the atmosphere and the humidity. But yeah, totally fine to see that. And we'll see a couple more big vents from it in particular. One about 90 seconds before launch when they do the gas closeouts, when they purge that line one final time. So we shall see the Cape return. You really don't like that one, do you?
Oh my goodness, Josh Shelton again with a $20 super chat saying, wait, it's morning, ? It's night shift evening. It is indeed morning, Josh. It is very early in the morning for people who don't like to wake up at this time of day. But yeah, again, Josh, thank you so much for the support. You were in chat like 5 minutes ago, and now you're in there again. So seriously, thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's greatly appreciated.
Is it night on the upside down part of the world? AKA Australia, New Zealand?
I guess that's how it works, because it's, on the other side. And it's like, I'm surprised they don't just fall off, because gravity pulls you. Anyways, Michael Burns in chat is asking, what is the difference between a launch complex and a space launch complex, LC versus SLIC? And I don't actually know the answer to this question, but my assumption, and please do correct me if I'm very, very wrong, my assumption has always been that, so these differences are only on the what used to be Air Force bases, right now Space Force bases, so they're military bases like Cape Canaveral, Vandenberg. My assumption has always been that it was to differentiate back in the day between a suborbital missile pad and an orbital space launch pad. Am I completely incorrect, or is it just kind of random at this point?
really is no structure or naming regime for it. LC used to just kind of be the standard, but then they started adding some as Space Launch Complex rather than just LC or Launch Complex. So it really is kind of just where it was historically, and they very rarely, if ever, change it. So you will still get in trouble if you say Slick 34 versus LC 34, or in this case, LC 40 versus Slick 40. There's no rhyme or reason to it, but just know if you say that to a space geek, they will still probably call you out on it.
Never call Blue Origin's launchpad Slick 36 because you'll have a very angry Harry Stranger in your DMs. That's something I've learned. Yeah, but I have to say, in my opinion, Slick, it just sounds so much better. Slick 20, Slick 16. Why are all of these companies, they want to rename it to Lick 16? Lick just doesn't have the same ring as Slick, It's just...
You might say it actually sounds pretty slick.
Exactly, and that's a pun I will 100% get behind because it actually does. It just does sound better. But never ever call. I'm not even going to say this one out loud because it's so cursed. But never ever put an S at the start of LC39A because that is a spaceflight sin. That gets you shunned from the spaceflight community for a considerable amount of time. That is unacceptable. That is. But yeah. 8 minutes and 20 seconds. I've just been informed in the back channel from our Starbase Live operator, New Pizza, saying that someone should probably tell that to the permit website. Some documentation we don't always have to keep an eye on. We don't always have to pay attention to. They contain some good information and some other information we can selectively ignore in some of the naming conventions that they use.
By the way, very quickly, do you know what else is slick? The prints at shop.nasasspaceflight.com.
Oh, that was actually really good, Soy. Well done.
Thank you. But yeah, we had so many good ones from the Starship flight recently, because I know we were talking Starship earlier. I cannot wait till we get it at the Cape. All those photos are going to be amazing, but there are still absolutely amazing ones from the most recent Starship Flight 10. Definitely check that out at shop.nasaspaceflight.com, available as metal prints as well as poster prints. And hey, I see one there that was designed by Orion Caton.
Yeah, that one. You should get that one. That one's quite good, isn't it? You should get that one.
I love it.
But yeah, nice little poster there of kind of a split between Ship 36 and Ship 37. One of them doing much better than the other. I'll let you gather in chat which ship did better and which ship did worse. But yeah, one of those. Well, nice little thing. I just designed that for a little social media post, and then a few hours later, I got a DM from Lindsay and the store team saying, "Hey, can we put it on the shop?" Yes, you can. And there you go. We've got so many prints, including that one. Carson, you're pointing at it, so you might as well click on it. We've got that one from the dunes. Just look at that, the absolute fury of the Megamark Diamond on the orbital launch mount. Only one more launch for that old mount there, but it's done us good. It's lasted 10 launches so far. It's literally on its last legs. But
Look
I'm sure SpaceX...
those engines look. That is so cool. Actually, what's really cool are the 9 Merlin 1D engines on Falcon 9 right now after they chilled down in preparation for flight. It's true. T-minus 7 minutes. They chill down the engines to thermally condition them, just like we kind of talked about with the line, where they start to cool it down a bit. They start running the cooler propellant through the lines, basically kind of fills up all of the empty spots in there as well, but also conditions the engine so that you don't have such a drastic temperature change.
I'm just going to ignore that one because the merch plug one was much better than that one, Sawyer. If I'm ranking the puns from today's stream, I'm doing a tier list. The one to the merch plug was definitely S tier. That one, probably put it at a D tier, to be honest. But there you go.
Ouch! At least put it F tier for Falcon 9.
Is there even an F tier? I thought it only went to E. I don't know.
I don't know, but this one is going to be going. I see people asking. This one will be going to the northeast. So anybody who's up early on the northeastern portions, go out and try and take a look. If you happen to see something, send it to our socials. That'd be really cool. I love when we get to see people at the Cape seeing it. But just so you're aware, that is the northeast trajectory for those just joining and asking.
Yeah, and even though the sun will probably be behind the rocket, there is the possibility, I would say, that the exhaust gets lit up, or any kind of gases from the second stage perhaps get lit up. So always keep an eye out. It's unlikely because of the current, lighting conditions, the current time of day, but there's nothing wrong with keeping an eye out nonetheless. At this point, as we approach T-minus 4 minutes to go, at this point, Jerry, I think we should probably bid you farewell for the time being, and good luck, because it is, time to, fingers crossed, track a rocket launch.
Well, thank you, Ryan, and I'll go get to it.
Falcon 9 continuing to do its venting. Rocket's coming alive. Well, it's been coming alive for the last half an hour, but we can actually now finally see some closer up views of this vehicle coming alive. A very pretty Floridian morning at Space Launch Complex 40.
By the way, that is the strong back retracting that you see there, those like yellow clamp things that opened up from around the payload fairing halves and leaned back 1.8 degrees to get out of the way for launch, and then it throws all the way back at liftoff, unlike Vandenberg, which just leans back 4 degrees and stays there.
Did you mean 45 degrees? Goes a little bit further than
45, yes.
I was going to say, it might get a little bit toasty if it stays at 4 degrees, which is why they swing that entire structure back, because they obviously can't get it completely out of the way, considering it is, a launch structure, but they swing it back, which means there is a little bit less fury from those 9 Merlin engines on all of that sensitive ground support infrastructure. So SpaceX can always swap stuff out if they need to. We've seen that more than once over the years. But yeah, it's just they want to try and preserve that structure as long as they can. And there we go. That is SpaceX confirming the liquid oxygen load has now wrapped up on the first stage. T-minus 2 minutes and 35 seconds to go. Fingers crossed, very shortly we'll be hearing some more words along those lines.
Yep, we should hopefully hear them fully finishing loading propellants shortly, and then after that will be the gas closeout, where you'll see a big poof of gas come out, which is totally normal and expected as they purge the lines of any remaining liquid oxygen or other gases that they need to purge ahead of time.
Some very pretty cloud formations in the sky this morning over the Cape. T-minus 2 minutes.
Stage 2 LOX load is complete.
There is the call out. So both stages have now wrapped up loading liquid oxygen.
That's a fully fueled vehicle.
Yeah, essentially waiting until pretty much as late as they can, because of course SpaceX wants these propellants as chilled and as cold, especially the liquid oxygen, as possible. And being cryogenic, it can boil off. So you don't want that. You want them to stay as cold as possible, cold and condensed as possible, which is why SpaceX waits until pretty much as late as they can. And there we go. We can see that final big event there, Sawyer, from the strong back as SpaceX prepares to launch. Fingers crossed, in 15 seconds' time, we'll hear the launch director coming over the radio.
Yep, and that will be Falcon 9 entering startup with the onboard computers taking control and tanks pressurizing to flight levels.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
There we go. That's the call out we wanted to hear. Standing by for that go for launch call.
Launch director, go for launch.
And that's exactly what we want to hear. 40 seconds to go, or 30 seconds to go, approaching now for the launch of Starlink 10-22. Let's keep watching.
Come on, Falcon. Come on, Starlink.
17 seconds to go. 10 seconds to go now. Keeping an eye at the base of the vehicle. looking for that ignition. There it is. And that is a liftoff. Starlink 1022 for the 200th time in 2025. That is an orbital launch attempt. Let's stand by for the sound to arrive at the microphones. "75 seconds into flight, an absolutely gorgeous liftoff from the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station this morning. Falcon 9 continuing to head to space. You can see it kind of doglegging over to the northeast there, ascending through the atmosphere. Some beautiful, beautiful vapor cones. I think you can also see the sound waves for a minute there on the close-up tracking cam just after liftoff. Going through the clouds, you're getting this wonderful view of the plume expansion of those 9 Merlin engines. As the vehicle gets higher and higher, the atmosphere getting thinner and thinner. There's less atmosphere pushing in to keep that exhaust as an exhaust shape. So yeah, we'll keep tracking. Jay will keep tracking as long as he can, but it looks like the clouds have finally gotten in his way, unfortunately. But that is an absolutely beautiful tracking through the sky there. I mean, just absolutely gorgeous sky conditions for liftoff. And we are now standing by for main engine cutoff of those 9 Merlin engines on the first stage and the ignition of the Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage in about 20 seconds time. On board now with Falcon 9 B1083. Just look at those clouds, look at that beautiful Earth this morning rising from Florida. Nearly up to 4 Gs there, and we've got main engine cutoff now on the booster. Should see stage separation. There it is. And we should see that booster falling away, that second engine lighting up, and stage 2 with 28 Starlink satellites continuing up into space. And Sawyer, very shortly, is going to be fairing separation with a very special fairing indeed.
Yes, we were able to see the fairing numbers, and one of them is numbered 185, which is the fleet leading fairing half. And as we watch them separate away, completing their job, that one in particular, 185, now with over 33 flights to its name. That was the 33rd flight of SN 185, and we were able to see earlier on during the broadcast, and our Cape team is going to be looking for it when they return, there was actually a crown on top of it. So very similar to the crown that we saw on B1067, which was the first booster to hit 30 flights. The first fairing to hit 30 flights, it looks like, also has a crown on it.
Very, very fitting indeed for that fairing half, and that will now head back down to Earth, re-enter the atmosphere, and fingers crossed get scooped up by SpaceX's support ship supporting this mission, which is Doug. The booster, on the other hand, B1083, is also preparing to re-enter the Earth's atmosphere. It's still tracking up to its apogee, but that will be going down to the drone ship, a shortfall of Gravitas, which is supporting today's mission, and will fingers crossed be recovering that first stage in about 4 minutes time. Second stage, meanwhile, continuing to burn, approaching 10,000 kilometers an hour in velocity, over 130 kilometers in altitude now. That will continue burning up until its parking orbit, which is where the vehicle will then hang out for a little bit before circularizing and sending the Starlinks on their way for them to then continue up to their final operational orbit independently. But there we go, we will keep an eye on both stages of the vehicle here. 4 minutes and 52 seconds into the flight, And we see the booster continuing to move with its RCS thrusters there. Its grid fins are deployed as expected, and it has very much hit its apogee at this point. The booster is now returning to Earth, falling back to the ground. It has got so much momentum at stage separation that it continues going up for a few minutes there, but we can see now that it is very much falling back to the Earth at this point, nearly passing through 100 kilometers, and that speed increasing.
By the way, for the people asking in chat, the fairing halves, they have small thrusters on it, and they also have a parachute that deploys, so they will re-enter the atmosphere, kind of basically using their half as a heat shield, and then parachute it down for Doug to scoop it out of the water and bring it back.
They're almost like a canoe shape, almost. They kind of like fall back to Earth in that configuration. If you know what I'm trying to say there, with that kind of, it's not really a bucket shape, kind of curved shape. You know what I'm trying to say. Anyways, let's continue with the booster because we are, of course, approaching that entry burn in just a moment, fighting fire with fire, as we love to say, because we literally are igniting those Merlin engines to protect the vehicle from too much of a thermal regime. Just keep an eye on that engine diagram there. See the grid fins snap into place, and we have 3 engines ignited on the first stage. As it approaches 50 kilometers in altitude, this will be slowing it down to protect itself against too high of a temperature during re-entry.
And you can see that square shape means it's the 3 engines. You'll see it drop back down to 1 and then to 0 very clearly on camera now.
And there we go, shutdown of that entry burn, the vehicle doglegging over, really using its grid fins there. You can see in that right grid fin, there's some vapor going through there. Really using the body of the booster now to steer itself through the atmosphere, aerodynamically flying itself through the atmosphere. And you can see now how quickly it is approaching the clouds and just how much drag there is. You can see the speed there in the bottom left. It was going 4,000 kilometers an hour a moment ago. It's now going almost 2,500 kilometers an hour simply because of the drag slowing the vehicle down. You can see it start to wiggle around, start to shudder a little bit because it, of course, is going through very, very tough aerodynamic loads. It's going through the atmosphere at nearly 1,500 kilometers per hour. It's now through that transonic regime. It's approaching the clouds. This is a very pretty view from on board the booster indeed. And fingers crossed, in a few seconds' time, a drone ship will appear from just below the booster. We are approaching 6 kilometers in altitude. We should see the landing burn starting any second now. Nearly 1,000 kilometers per hour in speed. Fingers crossed. That is 0 kilometers an hour in a few seconds' time. Okay, stand by for the landing burn. There it is. 1 Merlin engine ignited on the booster. There is the drone ship, a shortfall of gravitas in the Atlantic Ocean, and it's descending towards the drone ship. There it is. Just look at those waves, so pretty. Live from the drone ship on the right hand side, there goes the landing gear. And it's approaching the deck ever so gracefully, and that is pretty much perfect. Look at that. X marks the spot indeed. That is bang on center for B1083, concluding its 14th flight.
Absolutely spectacular. The watercolor this morning, gorgeous. Booster, gorgeous. Second engine, gorgeous because it's not stubby.
And shutdown of the Merlin vacuum. And why don't we watch that all again? Because that was a very pretty launch indeed. Looking on from Port Canaveral here with our fleet cam. Just look at the cloud formations in the sky there. A little bit of a blue patch there for Falcon 9 to thread the needle through. Unfortunately, though, that it looks like that thicker cloud on the right-hand side got in Jerry's way a little bit on the track uphill. Jerry, I believe we have you back with us. That looked pretty spectacular from the tracking camera there. How is that from your perspective?
Yeah, it was a great launch this morning. Yeah, it was a pretty sunny and beautiful day. And actually, now that I look up again, it's the clouds are really starting to come in pretty heavily now. So I think they got this thing off at the right time. And if they waited another couple hours, they could have potentially ran into some more cloud issues here at the Cape. So it's glad that it went when it did, and it was a very pretty launch this morning.
Indeed. Let's look on from our other fleet cam, zoomed in on Space Launch Complex 40, just on the horizon there. Look at that go. Beautiful thing, beautiful machine.
And with all the rate that they've been processing the boosters there at the port with 67, you had the one from the flight before that, and there will be another one hopefully launching on Friday. Port keeping busy there. Rusty's with the camera on there coming in clutch.
Yeah. I mean, this view as well, you can see the sun on the left, the booster on the right. This one is giving me like Atlas vibes because of the almost like the SRB trail, but there isn't an SRB trail. But if there was an SRB trail, this would be even more spectacular. But yeah, look at that vehicle go, punching through the clouds. Just absolutely spectacular. Another view here with the press site buildings on the right. Booster
Look at the
pitching
wave.
over on the left.
The sort of heat wave behind it at the base.
Yeah, really, really pretty. And we've got Jerry's tracking view here as well, so we can take a look at this again.
And a listen, it sounds like, too.
Yeah. Just see it go there. I mean, even just passing through those clouds in the background, it's just absolutely backlit launches. Very pretty indeed. That vapor cone, never gonna get old. Never gonna get old. Very pretty.
Oh, yeah.
And you can really see it pitching down range in this angle. The vehicle is kind of pointing slightly in a different direction to the exhaust plume almost, simply because the vehicle is physically turning itself onto that northeast trajectory.
And also from the angle that we're at the press site there, you kind of get underneath it more for the northeast, whereas the southeast is going away from you. Northeast, it will start up over your head first, and then you really see the sharper turn easier on the northeast trajectory.
Indeed, indeed. And with that, over the course of the launch, of course, we don't like to go through all of the support and questions and such during the launch, because of course there is a launch going on, if you didn't notice. But N-Flight Technologies, thank you very much for becoming a becoming a Red Team member rather. Fingers crossed you enjoy your member perks, along with all of the other things available for the members. We've got some. I think Chris has been. We've got so many pictures. We've got like 3-4 photographers at Starbase at the moment, with Jack, Caesar, Max, and D, who fingers crossed will be coming home shortly. We're getting so many photos from Starbase. So the Red Team membership area, I think Chris is like not spamming, but it's getting close to spamming the Red Team area. Maybe it would be spamming if YouTube's photo uploader was a little bit better. Anyways, moving on. Thank you very much for becoming a member there. As we take a look at an empty Space Launch Complex 40, because Starlink 10-22 has just lifted off. If you're just tuning in, sorry you missed it, scroll back the stream 13 minutes or 14 minutes, and you can watch the launch all over again. But yeah, Jerry was not lying when he said the clouds are starting to roll in, because it is starting to look a little bit more grey and a little bit more dull right now than at the point of launch. Anyways, oh yeah, you can really see it kind of being pushed. They're moving quite quickly, those clouds. Anyways, at this point in time, I would like to thank everybody who has been supporting today's stream. First of all, braving out the mosquitoes in the field, Jerry Pike, thank you very much for rolling out and helping to cover the Florida side of things here with all of the Starship shenanigans going on over the past couple of weeks.
My pleasure. Thanks, Ryan.
Alongside me, Sawyer, thank you very much for sharing your expertise, and I would say thank you for your puns, but most of them I didn't like, so I won't say thank you. But I guess, yeah, the contribution of puns, whether warranted or not.
Hey, I got one of them that was an S tier transition, so I will take it. Thank you very much, Ryan. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Always beautiful to see launches here from Florida, and in particular the Space Coast. I mean, East Coast, West Coast for a reason.
I will not argue with that one at all.
That's why I said it at the end, so no one can argue.
In the background, Carson producing today's stream, pushing the buttons, making all the things work. Thank you very much, Carson. Where it is like just gone 7 o'clock in the morning for him. I think it's been up all night. I'm not sure. We'll have to verify that. But thank you very much, Carson, for producing. Of course, thank you to everybody in chat for tuning in today for today's launch. We couldn't do this without your guys' support, whether you're a long-time viewer or just tuning in for the very first time. If you're just in chat for the first time, it doesn't matter. Thank you so much for joining us. It is so great to be able to share all of these launches with everybody around the world who loves tuning in. So thank you so much for that. And with that, my name's been Ryan Caton. Thank you very much for watching, and fingers crossed we will see you in the not too distant future, because this is SpaceX in 2025. They're launching every other day. Thank you very much, everybody. Bye-bye.
And here we go. We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
RA-68 chamber pressure looks good.
Doubling up. Roger, planet.
Water towers, fly! Yes! Tango down to nominal.
Flight downside speed off. Bring in SPD off. Off. It's orange! 145! Oh my god! Oh my god! Decollage! What is it? Put that in the big bag, Jingle.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
This methane will be igniting in the flare, correct?